Leading our efforts this year are two of the region's finest leaders. Andrea McClellan is this year's event chair, and Ed Power is last year's chair and this year's vice chairman. Would you join me in welcoming them, please?
Thank you, Kathy. We're so happy you're here tonight to honor the extraordinary Jane Batten for all she's done for generations of children and young people in Hampton Roads.
And we're thrilled to be able to honor Norfolk Southern for leading the way in philanthropy here in Hampton Roads and in every community it serves.
Events like these simply aren't possible without extraordinary sponsorship support. And the printed program you received tonight at your table contains the names of all who supported our efforts this evening. We'd like to acknowledge a few right now, though. First, our title sponsor. Many thanks to Town Bank, Bob Aston, Morgan Davis, and the incredible team at Town. Thank you. And our visionary sponsors, Charlotte and Gil Minor, Old Dominion University. Thank you, President John Broderick, Alonzo Brandon, and your team. And the folks at Signature, Ann Schubedine, Susan Colpitz, and the extraordinary crew at Signature. Thank you very much.
I'd also like to honor and thank our icon sponsors, the City of Norfolk, Mayor Paul Frame, and City Manager Marcus Jones, the Darden family, Betty Darden, Alan and Audrey Parrott, Dominion Enterprises, Jack Ross and his management team, E3, Elevate Early Education, and the new E3 School. Thank you, Lisa Howard and Gary McCullum. Gold Key PHR, thanks to Bruce Thompson, Chief Executive Officer. Kaufman and Knowles, thanks to Vince Mastracco, Chuck McPhillips, Bill Van Buren, and their partners. And Seventh Point Advertising, Joe DeLatte and Chris Calcagno, the fruits of whose labor you will see a little bit later in the program, extraordinary video. And Virginia Wesleyan College, Billy Greer, and Mita Vale.
As I mentioned, you'll find a full list of all of our incredible sponsors in our programs tonight. Many thanks to each of you for your support of Civic, the support of the DARDEN Awards, and tonight's award recipients. So please help us once again express our gratitude for their support.
This is a real night of celebration for Jane Batten and Norfolk Southern, but it's also a night of celebration for Ann Crenshaw, who at the end of this year will complete 2 official years at the helm of the Civic Board of Directors. But her contributions have far exceeded her term. As incoming chair, I'm acutely aware of all that's been accomplished in Ann's tenure. Ann has been there from the beginning, representing Civic in the formation of the Hampton Roads Regional Council. We've launched the Civic Scholars Program with Old Dominion University and are reaching out to other regional leadership organizations through the early development of a shared mentoring program. We've also formed a terrific collaborative relationship with Lead Virginia Peninsula, in which Civic is providing programming support for services. In fact, the president and CEO of the Peninsula Chamber is in the Civic class of 2015. And as Rick said to Louis in Casablanca, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship and beautiful leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, would you join me in thanking and congratulating Ann Crenshaw?
Thank you very much. I have so enjoyed my tenure as the chair of Civic. I want to thank the incredible talent on the board and all of you overachievers and overextended people who have committed time to the development of our program. And I want to thank Kaufman and Knowles for allowing me the opportunity to take on this role. Thank you. I'm back. Last year we established the Darden Corporate Award because we realized that while our individual honorees have been outstanding, it is our great corporate citizens that continue to sustain the Hampton Roads region. Our first honoree for the Corporate Darden Award was Town Bank for its extraordinary contributions to the region. And here to present this year's honoree is Bob Aston, Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of Town Bank.
Good evening, everybody. In the interest of full disclosure, before I present this great award tonight, I want to make it clear that I've been a long-time happy shareholder of Norfolk Southern. Let me just say, in seriousness, I'm honored to be here tonight to recognize what I consider to be one of our region's greatest corporate citizens. It was an extraordinary day back in 1982 when our community was blessed with the arrival of the corporate headquarters of Norfolk Southern Corporation. And you know, from the very first day that they showed up here in Hampton Roads, they began to make a difference in terms of our lifestyle here in this community. They set the standard and they raised the bar for all things that are good. When we look at the things that they have done in our community, education stands out as one that they've had a great tradition of supporting and being able to bring first-class education to all that's concerned in our community. They have supported things from Smart Beginnings to the Access Program, which has done so much for so many of our young people in the community, Virginia Wesleyan, Old Dominion, the medical school, the list goes on and on. For those in our community that are less fortunate and need a hand up, they've been there to do that, from United Way, Food Bank for Kids, CHKD, again, numerous organizations. And think about the culture in this region, and think back to what that looked like when they arrived in this community, and think about what that looks like today when you look at what has been accomplished. Look at the Chrysler Museum, look at the Virginia Opera, the Arts Festival, the Norfolk Zoo. Again, that list goes on and on in terms of things that have improved the quality of life in our community. And speaking of making our community a better place, look at the work they have done in the environmental area, with the work they've done with the Elizabeth River Project, Chesapeake Bay Foundation. Think about the Norfolk Forum and what that means in our community and enlightenment as far as our citizens are concerned. And Norfolk Southern has been there for all of those things. WHRO, the YMCA. They have truly enhanced the livability of this entire region. And perhaps more importantly, Norfolk Southern has brought incredible leadership to our community. Arnold McKinnon, Harold Hall, David Good, Wig Mormon, and hundreds of others that have been fully engaged in making life better in this community. And sometimes I think when we think about the money that somebody gives, that's great and it's appreciated, but leadership and community engagement, in the end of the day, is what comes together to make any community great, and they have certainly done that all across this Hampton Roads landscape. Their employees, I don't think you could find a better place to be working. Recently, I read a quote from a Norfolk Southern retiree who said, "I love my job. It was the highlight of my life." Well, from a corporate citizenship viewpoint, Norfolk Southern has been a highlight for this community. So it's with great pleasure tonight that I present, in the spirit of our friend, the late Josh Darden, the 2014 Corporate Leadership Award for Regional Leadership to the Norfolk Southern Corporation, represented tonight by Jim Squires, President.
Thank you so much, Bob, for the gracious introduction. We really appreciate that. I must say, though, as the Chief Financial Officer of Norfolk Southern for 5 years and now the President, Whenever someone says to me, I've been a long-time happy shareholder, I feel a certain pressure begin to build inside me. I don't have an ulcer, but there's still time. Anyway, no, we'll try to keep it going. We are delighted to be this year's recipient of the corporate award. Our employees, our retirees, and our families in the Hampton Roads area all thank you for this recognition. Since we established our headquarters here in 1983, we have been active in the nonprofit community, a partner to nonprofits throughout Hampton Roads. And our goal has always been to give back to the communities where our employees work and live. And we support not only organizations in Hampton Roads, but throughout our 22-state network. As a major employer in communities both large and small, across the entire eastern United States, we take very seriously our role as corporate citizens. And our goal is to enhance the quality of life for our employees, our retirees, our families, and the communities in which we operate. Our charitable program has a couple of pieces beyond just funding grants. And each is important in its own right and has grown up in its own way as we have lived here in Hampton Roads as a corporation. Oftentimes, our charitable activities grow out of a need, a demonstrated need, or the interests of our employees and our retirees. And over time, our priorities have evolved as we have refined our sense of corporate responsibility. For our first 30 years here in our home as Norfolk Southern Corporation, our donations went primarily to local United Ways and to educational and cultural organizations here in Hampton Roads and throughout our territory. But in late 2009, we decided to adjust our priorities and to include direct funding of basic human services like food and shelter and environmental organizations. During the recession, we came to view funding of these basic human services, direct funding, as increasingly urgent, as many of our families in our communities struggled just to put food on the table and a roof over their heads. And similarly, knowing that our company has an environmental impact, we decided it was important to invest in environmental protection as well. But there was still plenty to do through the United Ways, which remain one of the largest recipients of Norfolk Southern Foundation funds today. We donate to over 80 United Ways through our foundation. And last year, total foundation donations to United Ways exceeded $1.5 million, of which United Way of Southampton Roads received $240,000. And that's the corporate funding. It doesn't include employees and retirees funding. In 2013, these totaled over $1 million, by the way. And of that total $1 million in employee and retiree contributions, $660,000 went to the United Way of Southampton Roads. So, that's approaching 3 times the amount Norfolk Southern gave from our foundation. In other words, there is real leveraging of corporate donations thanks to the fact that so many of our employees make this place their home, live, work, and retire right here in Hampton Roads. Now, another way we fund worthy causes is through discretionary grants at the local level. So each year, as a corporation, we fund a pot of money for NS managers and other community to fund locally across our network organizations like fire, police, emergency response, and many other similar groups. And while the donations are relatively small, they often go to organizations that would otherwise lack any form of corporate support. And next, we offer our employees and our retirees a matching gift program. And this represents nearly a quarter of our foundation funding, or about $1.7 million. It offers a dollar-for-dollar match up to $35,000 for employees, $25,000 for retirees, to nonprofits meeting our guidelines. And we're proud to say this is one of the most generous corporate matching gift programs out there. And our reach also extends, as was mentioned, to memberships and sponsorships for business-related nonprofits like state and local chambers of commerce. And here in Hampton Roads, we proudly support the Hampton Roads Chamber of Commerce, the Hampton Roads Business Roundtable, the Urban League of Hampton Roads, and many other groups where business and philanthropic interests intersect. In the past 5 years, Norfolk Southern has given over $10 million to nonprofits through these different modes of funding. And in doing so, we've been supporters of some really great organizations working in the arts, human services, education, environment, and business-related nonprofits. And we're also delighted that our employees give their time and talent through nonprofit board service. Currently, we have over 80 employees and retirees serving on nonprofit boards throughout the region, helping those organizations fulfill their vital missions. And we actively encourage our employees to volunteer on boards, viewing the experience as beneficial not only to the employees but to the organizations, but to the employees as well. And lastly, I just want to mention volunteering. Every year, our employees, retirees, and their families participate in over 15 events through our Hampton Roads, through our Thoroughbred volunteer program. We started it here in 2006. And it has since expanded to 6 other major cities on our network. Examples of volunteer projects include, right here in Hampton Roads, include food drives, school supply drives, Clean the Bay Day, Family Volunteer Day, Paint Your Heart Out, and many other events. Just this year, our Norfolk Southern volunteers racked up 1,000 hours of service. So in closing, through our Gifts to the United Way for basic services in the environment, through our local discretionary grants, our matching gifts program, our employees, our retirees board service, our volunteer activities, we're very committed to giving back to the communities where we live and work. And we are so honored that Civic has recognized us with the corporate DARDEN Award. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jim. We are so grateful for everything Norfolk Southern does, not only for our Hampton Roads area, but for every community it serves. And now to introduce this year's DARDEN individual honoree, I'm pleased to introduce a woman in active leadership of so many institutions that make Hampton Roads the region that it is. Ann Shumanine is the chair and founder of Signature, a firm that takes the complexity out of wealth management. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ann Shumanine.
Good evening. I am delighted to be here tonight to introduce Jane Batten, this year's recipient of the DARDEN Award for Regional Leadership. I've been fortunate to count Jane as a friend for many years. I first knew her as Frank's wife, and then as Dorothy and Betsy and Frank's mother. I also knew her as a Monday night tennis partner, one who apparently willingly crawled through my dirty attic to admire a fort built by my 7-year-old and his best friend. Remember that? Later as a Saturday morning golf partner, and most recently as a philanthropist and community leader. You will hear in the film clip about Jane's contributions to education, her commitment to a clean and sustainable environment, and her support of the Slover Library. What I would like to talk about is Jane the leader. As many of you know, Jane is not shy. Described admiringly by some as candid, she doesn't hesitate to jump in and voice her opinion. You always know where you stand with Jane. But Jane's greatest talent is collaboration. She recognizes a challenge, she identifies a solution, she brings people together to build it and run it, and then she makes sure it's sustainable. I think of Jane as a philanthropic venture capitalist. The Slover Library is a great example of Jane's leadership. Jane and Frank wanted to make a transformational gift in honor of Colonel Slover. And Jane has taken that shared legacy and made it all her own. She studied state-of-the-art libraries all over the United States. She visited libraries designed by great architects in order to make sure that we had the best one. She made contributions to the design process. She championed the concept of public fundraising so that hundreds of citizens could have a stake in the project. And she continues to help find the right people to make the library sustainable and transformational for generations to come. Because of Jane's efforts, Hampton Roads will have a world-class library. Jane has contributed her time, talent, and resources to many other local efforts that will have an enduring impact on our community. Here are a few of them. The new school at Park Place will be a role model for best practices in early childhood education. First Tee has seen more than 25,000 children go through its golfing program. WHRO's education portal now serves as the centerpiece for Virginia's digital education strategy. The Brock Environmental Center at Pleasure House Point is the greenest building in Virginia and a showpiece for sustainable buildings. And the Sailing Center at Nauticus has made a difference in the lives of more than 100 public 6th and 7th grade public school students and plans to increase its impact over time. Jane is a model philanthropist, a remarkable collaborator, and a wonderful force for good in this community. I'm very proud to introduce her tonight. And now I invite you to turn your attention to the video.
When Jane Batten decides that education is an area where she is going to focus on, she will do whatever it takes to make that happen.
Education, she believes, and a lot of us believe, is a key to bringing some sanity and understanding.
Early in my marriage, I got asked to be on various boards and be involved in projects. And my husband said that he had had the most gratifying civic experiences concerned with education, and he thought I probably would too, and he was right.
Jane has been all in when it comes to early education. She has given her time, she has given her leadership, she has given so much to this cause, and quite honestly, we wouldn't be where we are today without her.
Obviously, children in early education learn by doing physical things or by hearing music or seeing pictures or building things.
The vision of the new E3 school really started about 6 years ago, and Jane has been the driving force creating that high-quality demonstration model that's going to be sitting next to the Y on Granby and Park Place.
I tell people, if you want to change the world, you start 0 to 5. And I truly believe that.
Without her passion and her dedication to this issue, we would never be where we are today.
I've always known Jane's passion for education, from whether it's early childhood or technology in the classrooms.
Well, WHRO, people just think of Downton Abbey and Jay Sennett on the radio, but it has huge educational resources.
In fact, we probably provide more services to the schools today than we have in the history of our entire life. As Jane and I were talking, and we had this concept of this education portal that the schools wanted, she became very interested and had that vision of saying, what would it take to make this free to everybody. And eMedia VA has now become the center point of the state's digital education strategy. It is visionary, it is world-class in the kind of tools we're providing, and Jane understood it right from the beginning.
You learn by doing things, not by sitting in a classroom and getting preached at.
She's had a long-term vision about helping young children really get the kind of leg up so that they are successful in their educational process.
First Tee and Sail Nauticus. Both of those institutions use a sport, golf or sailing, to teach life skills or science skills.
First Tee is really an experiential program. You know, it's not just that skill that you're learning, but again, it's that opportunity to confront the question of integrity, the question of honesty, the question of responsibility.
At the First Tee, they're learning how to be good human beings and good citizens, because golf has certain rules that there's no gray in golf. So we built the golf course, 9 holes. We built a little clubhouse and learning center. And then we thought, we don't have a clue how to run this place.
I could tell Jane was thinking about something. And then she all of a sudden said to me, Chuck, what if we made it possible for the Y to have and take over the First Tee program?
I said, Chuck, do you want a golf course?
We went forward and implemented that program across our entire Y system. Over 25,000 kids in our community have come in contact with the core values that are put forth by the First Tee program.
I've always been interested in environment and environmental education.
One of Chesapeake Bay Foundation's roles is education. And the Chesapeake Bay Foundation takes about 2,500 students every year from Hampton Road schools out on the water to let them learn about the water and the environment. The Brock Center will serve as a physical place that those students can come and wander around the grounds, actually see the water.
And it is truly an amazing building, number one, and will be a wonderful resource for environmental education for students and for teachers.
She would say, you know, the next shot we got out of them after early childhood education is in college.
I believe in liberal arts education as a basis for learning and becoming for the rest of your life. Someone said you don't learn to earn, you learn to begin to learn. And I've found that true.
We have a scholarship on our campus called the Batten Scholarship. These young people are Batten scholars. She also understands that if we can bring them to Virginia Wesleyan with that very serious scholarship, then we have a chance of keeping them in our community. She's a woman with a very compassionate heart, and when she latches hold of something, she just won't turn it loose. She's going to make Hampton Roads a better place. And her way of doing that is to pour herself, pour her resources, pour her heart into education.
I remember Paul Frame came to see my husband and said, we need to build a new central library. And then he said to me before he died, you do whatever you have to do to make this happen, and we want it to be special.
We went together to see some libraries that the architects had built. She got to know everybody on a first name basis. Some of the best architects in the world didn't make the cut. I mean, Jane really wanted something very special.
It's due to open in January, and it's architecturally and technologically an amazing building.
Clearly, she's been inspiring. And the fact that she's willing to come to these meetings repeatedly and sit there and read all the papers and, get involved in the dialogue and then tell people what she thinks.
You stay involved and then you get more interested, and it builds from there.
It's a thing of beauty, actually, in the community. We'll be very, very proud of this.
Josh, of course, was a visionary leader who cared deeply about education. Jane is in that same cloth.
Josh and I are related by marriage. My stepfather, Hunter Hogan, was Josh's uncle. And so Josh and I knew each other from the time we were little children. He and I shared this passion for supporting education. If it was good for the community, Josh was going to support it and see that it got done.
Jane is not a timid soul. She's willing to share her vision. She's willing to provide you some guidance, and she's willing to provide the resources to make her vision become a reality.
She is phenomenal in the way that she stays focused.
She recognizes the issues, she identifies some solutions, she gets the right people in the room to work on it, and then she makes sure it's sustainable.
She is the one person in this region now that can make things happen.
I always try to find myself on the right side of the argument, and the right side of the argument quite often is Jane Batten.
Goodness, wasn't that good? I want to thank Ann Schumedine. I had to really lean on our personal friendship to get her to do that. She hates giving talks and being. Thank you, Ann. I'm overwhelmed by how many people are here tonight. I must say, it's almost as scary as last week when I had to be in the room with 250 development officers at the National Philanthropy Day lunch. Can I introduce my daughter-in-law and my son, Frank and Amy, and thank them for coming? And thanks to all of you who came out. I know you're here because you're really here to support Civic and to honor the memory of Josh. And because of Josh, this award is very, very special to me. As you saw in that lovely little picture, we've been friends since we were children. I have to guess that maybe we were about 5 years old when that was taken. And probably by my mother on the lawn of my grandparents' yard at North Shore Point. As you know, Josh and I were not only related by in-laws by marriage, but we were related because we enjoyed so many of the same things. And before he died, a year or so ago, he told me, he said, "Jane, I'm really proud of you, and I'm proud of everything that you're doing in the community," and that was very touching to me. However, I have to give credit to my late husband, Frank, who from the very first of our marriage encouraged me to be involved, and encouraged me, even though we both felt that at the core, education was the most important thing you could support. He encouraged me to do my own thing, to have my own projects, and then he gave me unlimited resources to give back. You can't beat that. Thank you, Frank. Anything that I have accomplished, it's because I had very, very strong partners. Many or most of my partners are in this room tonight. You know who you are. Thank you, thank you. Someone gave me
a quotation that's attributed to John Quincy Adams, of all people. It says, "If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, become more, you are a leader." Josh personified that kind of personal leadership, and his memory challenges all of us to follow in his example. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you, Jane. Jane, I know you focused much of your life's work on supporting educational pursuits, and so I am particularly pleased to introduce to all of you tonight our ODU Civic Scholars. These are 20 young men and women who are part of a civic leadership community at Old Dominion University, and we connect them with mentors and conduct monthly programs that we hope will equip them for the citizenship roles that they will take up in whatever community they choose. But of course, among our goals is to make sure that they see a very bright future here in Hampton Roads. Would you join me in welcoming our Civic Scholars who are with us? A big fan of superlatives, those marvelous words that color our language and give it flourish. But I have to confess I have not been able to find the words to describe the hard work, focus, and attention to detail that has been at the core of the work our staff has done to express our deep care and appreciation for our honorees and our guests tonight. Sarah Jane Kirkland is our Director of Alumni Engagement. She is the very best export since Cadbury's from the United Kingdom. I have to confess, it must be said, she is the heart and soul of this initiative tonight, and I will now confess that in the last few weeks I have made up opportunities to talk about this venue so that I could hear her say, "It's at the Half Moon." And I love that. So we'll get working on next year's, and maybe we'll have another equally marvelous sounding name. Of course, I also want to commend to you her sidekick, Catherine Economist, who has the most extraordinary attention to detail. She probably knows where you are seated every table in here. She knows who's seated at every table. She probably knows your home address as well, and I'm not saying that to creep you out, but just to let you know she is an extraordinarily detailed person. A core value of this organization is hospitality and appreciation, and when you experience it with us, it is because of our extraordinary staff and the team of volunteers they inspire. Well, thank you. Our core values were shaped powerfully by our founder emeritus, Josh Darden. And as you know, Josh left us in January, but he remains with us in so very many ways. From Civic to the Access College Scholars to a clinic that helps people who stutter, as he did early in life, Josh Darden helped people and institutions reach their full potential. But nowhere was his care more evident than at his beloved University of Virginia, and in his eloquent evocation of one of his greatest civic role models, Thomas Jefferson.
Dear Mr. Jefferson, you once observed that while time gradually extinguishes the wish to stay on this earth, the wish of returning once in a while to see how things have gone is not so easily extinguished.
It was October 7th, 1995. Josh Darden was giving an acceptance speech at his beloved University of Virginia, accepting, as he so often did, another rule of leadership and responsibility. His speech was made up quite cleverly as a letter written by Josh to Thomas Jefferson. It is almost prophetic, yet no coincidence that much of what Josh said to Jefferson about UVA, Mr. Jefferson might say to Josh tonight about his role in our lives.
Dear Mr. Darden, you would be awestruck if you could walk amongst us tonight and take in the fruits of your efforts. Beyond your love and care for your fellow man and commitment to the betterment of our society, you, sir, have created the most lasting and impactful monument to the good and great future of this fine community. For you have fostered leadership. Through example, you modeled what greatness should look like and how leadership manifests. Through your belief in and dedication to higher education, you have planted the seeds of virtue and character, and now we harvest a spirit of commitment from so many whose lives you touched. You have made wonderful things happen, Mr. Darden, here and throughout our Commonwealth. Your selfless idealism and your philosophy of civic responsibility are the cornerstones of an intellectual reputation that will influence great leaders for years to come. Many of our country's greatest leaders have come from Virginia, and I believe, thanks to you, sir, many more will follow. With respect and gratitude for all you have done, I remain very truly yours, Thomas Jefferson.
At the very end of Josh's speech, in his letter, he said to Jefferson, "All of us here tonight, and others who love this place, we will carry on your dream." And so, we say the same to you, Josh. What we have all come tonight to say is you can rest assured, all of us here tonight, and others who love this place, we will carry on your dream.
We are so pleased that Betty Darden could be with us tonight. Betty, thank you for being here with us. We have discovered that beautiful picture of Josh and of Jane, and so they very kindly entrusted it to our care. Sarah Jane was in charge of that, not me. That's a very good thing. But we've reproduced it and put it in frames, and those are at your tables tonight. So thank you very, very much, Andrea.
It's hard to follow. Josh was very intentional about giving Civic the grounding it needed to grow roots in Hampton Roads, but now it is really up to us to carry that legacy forward. We're launching some exciting initiatives to imbue our members with the knowledge, the values, the skills to take our places in regional leadership. You'll hear more about some of these plans in the months to come, but tonight we have two pieces of news to share. The first is that the Board of Directors of Civic has authorized the renaming of our annual fund, and it will now be known as the Darden Fund. And second, in the new year, we'll launch a class fundraising competition to see which class really is the best class ever. And we'll announce those results at the Founders Lunch in May. Josh was proud of what we've accomplished. He was proud of you, Kathy. So let's make sure we continue to succeed and contribute in ways that honor his gift and his legacy. And so now, after celebrating a wonderful evening tonight, we will begin anew tomorrow, maybe next week, planning for our 2015 Civic Darden Awards. I hope you will look around the room and around Hampton Roads and consider nominating one of the many accomplished and talented individuals and institutions for next year's award. Speaking of which, I'm thrilled to announce that next year's Civic Darden Award chair will be Ann Connor, President, Public Finance and Community Investment for Town Bank. Thank you for stepping up.
We are so glad you have been here tonight. I hope you will indulge me 30 seconds just to talk about these marvelous videos that you've seen tonight. Seventh Point is a company of extraordinary storytellers. They have been our partners with us every step of the way, and stories are just so powerful, and I'm so glad that we have had the opportunity to share with you the way that they tell a story. I hope that you will take another moment or so to visit with Jane and the good folks from Norfolk Southern. As well, we hope that you will jot a note to Jane, because it's been our tradition to present our honorees with a beautiful wooden box that's filled with notes from you. And so that stand is outside in the rotunda on this very special night. Thank you again to all of our sponsors and to all of you for joining us tonight. Dessert and coffee are going to be served in the rotunda right now. Thank you so much for being here.